Hey, podcast fans, welcome to the Purple People podcast. My name is Kyle West. Alongside me, they don't call him Machete because there's only one Machete. His name is Adam Carlson, though. You can call him Adam.
You can call me Machete if you want to. I'm fine with that.
I don't think Danny Trejo would like you taking over the Machete handle.
I don't know. I think I could take him.
I don't know, man.
But I'd like to welcome everyone to episode 46 of the Purple People podcast, and I called this episode Mock Lobster.
I gotta think about that one. Mock Lobster?
Yeah, you know, like the B-52 song Rock Lobster.
Oh, see, I'm not a big B-52s fan, so that one went right over my head.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I can't say I listen to the B-52s on a regular basis here, Adam.
Well, hopefully someone enjoys it.
I'm sure someone out there in fanland is a really huge B-52s fan and just fell out of their seat that you worked a reference in for him.
I hope so. This week on the show, we're going to run down my 7-round mock draft for the Vikings, which is why I named the show that.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about the schedule, since that was released, and I've got some quick hits for you guys, but first, we're going to take a question from social media.
Social media question of the week. Echo, echo, echo. That was for a dramatic effect. This one comes from Thomas via Facebook, and this is kind of a two-part question, so we'll break this one up here. He wants to know, do you think Ponder is the main reason we lost both Harvin and Winfield? That's the first part. The second is he wants to know is how do you think that the loss of those two players will affect the team going into this coming season?
All right, I will start that off, and I will say that I don't really believe the Vikings lost either of these players. I think that when Harvin wanted out, I don't think it had as much to do with Ponder as it did with him arguing with the system and not liking what was going on with the staff. And he was getting his touches, he was getting his playing time, he was getting his returns. He got everything he wanted, and I don't know what else the Vikings could have done to keep him healthy and happy.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from that, Winfield, the Vikings made the decision to cut him. The Vikings made the decision not to try to offer him a bigger contract for him to come back. They realized that they had the youth on their side there, and that was just a decision that the front office made, and I can't hold it against Winfield for not signing back.
I'm going to start off with Harvin, and like we've talked about many, many times in the past, is that was something that was building for a number of years with Minnesota, and you could say that maybe him being frustrated with Christian Ponder, if there's any truth to that statement, could be part of the reason why he wanted out, possibly, but I think there were many reasons why Percy didn't want to be with his team. I really don't think he's ever was happy with the Vikings, and that would even look at like his rookie year, you know, when you have Brett Favre and all that success, kind of allows that to be glossed over a little bit. I don't think he was ever really happy with his role on the team. As for Winfield, Ponder and Winfield, like, there's no correlation. I don't see at all between those two. That was a personnel decision that Spielman and the rest of the Vikings were willing to do and to cut him and move forward. And, I don't think you could lay any of that one on Ponder at all.
Now, as far as the impact goes, I don't know if the Vikings will miss Harvin as much as a lot of people expect. I don't see him moving up to get another slot receiver. I think that the Vikings will put their faith in Wright. I think they'll get another wide receiver on the outside to battle a bit with Jerome Simpson, and I expect that to be fine. Now, Winfield, I think the Vikings will miss that leadership that he can bring, especially to the secondary and the young cornerbacks there. So that's something that the Vikings may have to replace, especially since, well, this was one of my quick hits, but the Vikings brought in Jacob Lacey from the Lions, and he could be a veteran that could come in and help these young guys out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that he wasn't a good player or that he doesn't play at a high level, because Winfield is a great player that does both those things, but at his age, with the salary he had, it's understandable.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember that both of these were calculated decisions that the Vikings made, where they sat down and they weighed the pros and the cons of each situation and it was in the best of interest for the team to move forward from both players. So, how will that affect the team going into this year? It won't, because this is part of their plan. Like, part of their plan was releasing or trading Harvin and getting the draft picks out of him. Like that became the plan, as soon as they moved on from him. Releasing Winfield, that becomes part of the team's plan. So it's not like this is when Sidney Rice left and he was a free agent and the Vikings were trying to court him and get him to come back to the team, and he ended up leaving and going and signing with another squad, and then that kind of left him in a little bit of a situation where then they're kind of struggling to find another receiver. Well, they're prepared. They were prepared to move forward without Percy Harvin on the team. They brought in Greg Jennings. They're going to see him draft a couple receivers in this year's draft. So, I mean, I don't think it's going to have the negative impact that people are expecting, because they're prepared for what to do in the absence of both those players.
Well, one more quick note on Winfield. I could see how the Vikings will struggle a bit at covering teams in the slot. So I expect a draft pick to be used early on a young guy to cover slot receivers
Mm-hmm.
or tight ends or whoever it may be in nickel packages. But I think that a player should be able to step in and play at a fairly high level, considering that you've got the young, fast, tall corners there. You've got some young, athletic safeties. I think this team will be okay going forward.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's jump right into my 7-round mock draft then.
Can I rant before we get into mock drafts?
I suppose.
Just a little bit. I am so ready for the actual draft to get here, because everyone and their mother does mock drafts, and I always have to wonder on days where, like, Darrelle Revis gets traded away, and like, does everyone adjust their mock drafts accordingly when something
Oh
big
yeah,
like that happens, or
I've already adjusted mine.
or have you? Well, good job, Adam. I'm glad you're on top of the ball, but I guess I'm just really ready for the actual draft to get here.
Oh, me too. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
All right, is that your rant there?
Yeah, that's my little rant.
All right, all right. With the number 23 pick, I think the Vikings will take middle linebacker Manti Te'o. I do. I don't think another team will be there to snag him. I think the only team that I'm really truly worried about grabbing him is either the Ravens moving up or the Bears grabbing him. Those are the two I'm worried about.
That was me clapping in the background because I agree with that pick. And man, you took away what I was going to say too. The only way that I don't see him coming to Minnesota is if, like you said, the Ravens trade up in front of us to get him, or Chicago takes him. Otherwise, if those two scenarios don't happen, he's going to be a Viking, and we will be better off for that.
Yeah. Pick number 25, I think, will be traded.
Ooh, you think so?
I think that will be traded to the Falcons. And the Falcons will get the number 30, 92, and 198. 30, 92, and 198. So 3 picks there for the number 25. Then I think after trading down with that number 30 pick, they're going to grab Robert Woods from USC, wide receiver.
Okay. Yeah, I would be okay with that. I kind of envision the Vikings staying put with both their picks and just drafting kind of best available at, those two spots.
Right.
And seeing where it goes. But for sure, if Spielman likes to do, cool trades and stuff like that. So if someone calls knocking, I think the Vikings are going to be a team will be listening to what other teams have to offer come draft day. It'll be an interesting first round.
Well, this is a fantastic draft to be getting picks between rounds 2 and 4, because there's a lot of mid-round depth, and the players that are elite are very few and far between in this draft.
Yeah, I know.
So you're not dropping off a lot when you go from a first-round pick and you pick up a first and a third.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you can't go wrong with that.
This year's draft it's just a little on the strange side, because like you said, usually it seems like you got your your 10 really elite players, that you're going
Right.
to count on, and then your next group of not quite elite. And this year, there's a lot of talent, but it doesn't seem like there's those real big elite names that are going to be out there that people are going to be drafting early. So, like you said, it leaves the possibility for trading and moving down to get depth a
Yeah.
really strong possibility.
And I absolutely love that right now I don't know who the number one draft pick is going to be. Last year at this time, we knew who number one and number two were going to be,
Oh, it's been
and we were just kind of going through the motions. I like that it's going to be a complete surprise.
Yeah, it makes it fun. You're right. It reminds you more of old school drafts from, years
Right.
ago where you couldn't quite nail down who was going to go where.
Well, I think that with round two, pick number 52 overall, I think we're going to see John Jenkins, the defensive tackle from Georgia. Big fella. He'll be there to plug the run and be that wall that's going to move in there and
Hmm.
just kick some butt. That's what I'm hoping for.
And that would be a smart pick because with them restructuring the contract of Kevin Williams and him basically being a Seattle Seahawk next season, uh, that's jokingly a way of saying he becomes a free agent after this season. He might be gone, so I could see them looking towards the draft to get someone to replace him.
Well, they also have Fred Evans as a defensive tackle whose contract ends this year, so he could be one of those guys that would step in and help take Fred Evans' place
Our whole
and maybe beat out Latroy Guion.
our whole D line is going to be in flux after this year.
Yeah, it's a scary thought.
Yeah, this is potentially the last year that this D line is going to be playing together.
Unless they can find some money.
Yep.
Then I've got, with the third round, pick number 83 overall, Jordan Poyer from Oregon State, cornerback. Add some depth in there, and he's a young, athletic guy. Should be able to come in and help out, especially in nickel packages.
I like the position. It's a good round to draft the position in.
Now, here's where fans might start to kind of question me a little bit, because with
Are you
pick
going to go with a
30
punter?
in round 3, number 92, I have them taking Stephen Taylor, running back from Stanford, just to prepare for the whole.
Toby Gerhardt leaving the
Yeah,
team
I
after next year. I could see that. I mean, it's a bit of a kind of a wild card to throw out there, but I like that you keep it interesting, and I like the fact that you're replacing one Stanford player with another one at the same position.
Speaking of trends in players, my pick 102 in round 4 there, I have Kobe Hamilton, the wide receiver from Arkansas. No, I don't see why the Vikings can't just draft every wide receiver that comes out of Arkansas.
Hey, we 1 out of 2 last year wasn't bad.
Just keep them coming, right?
Yeah, we got to
Uh,
go for the Notre Dame guys. I kind of like the fact that we have a bunch of Notre Dame guys on the squad. So, and maybe we can start something with, like you said, the Arkansas guys too.
maybe.
Yeah.
120 overall, round 4, I have Cornelius Washington, the defensive end from Georgia. I could see him and John Jenkins kind of teaming up, and you have that school connection there, and with all the guys that are potentially leaving at that position, I thought if they don't re-sign those guys to get some depth and familiarity. Pick 154, round 5. I have Ode Abuche, the guard
Bobby
from Virginia.
Boucher.
Bobby Boucher.
Bobby Boucher.
Ode Abuche. I think the Vikings need to improve at guard. Some people disagree with me, but hey, I've been in an argument all day about whether or not the Vikings need to improve at guard.
Well, yeah, they do. I have a small story that's not related to anything, and I promise it won't eat up half the show here, Adam. But
All right.
when I was at training camp, there was a guy who had a Bobby Boucher jersey that was signed by Jared Allen on the on the number
Weird.
on the back of it, and to me that is just like the funniest and the most awesome thing ever. So there's my random Mankato training camp story for the day.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Pick 189 in round 6. I have them taking Micah Hyde, cornerback from Iowa.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that name. I like that pick.
Round 6, pick 198. Garrett Gilkey, offensive tackle. Chadron State. Not a name you hear very often, but the Vikings need depth at tackle. Past the two guys they have right now, there's
Hmm.
not much. Their first pick in round 7, number 213 overall, Zeke Mata, safety from Notre Dame.
It has to be tough when you get back into the late rounds like this to do a mock draft.
It's not as hard as you'd think, to
Yeah.
be honest. Because when you're watching tape on a lot of guys,
Hmm.
you'll notice other guys when you're watching, you'll be like, hey, that guy's pretty good too.
Which is
So
funny
when I
because
was,
I've actually heard pro scouts. I actually think I heard Spielman say that in an interview where they were watching game tape or they went to practice or whatever for one player and ended up watching another player caught their eye.
yeah,
Yeah.
pick 214, round 7. I have them trading that pick to the Bills for a 6th round pick in 2014.
The Bills, did you just draw the Bills out of a hat?
I absolutely did not.
I'm really interested how you came to the conclusion that it would be the Bills.
Well, this would be a very long discussion, so we'll save that for some other time.
Can we get a condensed version? Can
No, no, no.
I'm desperate to know how you got the Bills.
Number 229 overall, the Vikings' final pick. I have them taking Ryan Allen from Louisiana Tech, the punter.
I no. You're just trying to rile me up with all
No,
this punter talk, and it's Cluey's job, and you guys are trying to take it from him.
it was last year. Last year that was Chloe's job.
And it will be his job in 2013.
We'll see.
No, it will be.
All right, let's go into talking a little bit about the Viking schedule because that was released this week, and there's some pretty interesting things on there.
Yeah, like we were talking about before we started recording, we both like the fact that we play the Detroit Lions in the first game of the season and the last game of the season.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's because that means we get to start the season on a win and go into the postseason with momentum coming off a win.
I love that the Vikings close out against the Lions at home. That to me is a good sign, especially if they can get heated up going.
Hmm.
Because they start out against the Lions, the Bears, the Browns, the Steelers, the Panthers, the Giants, and although those aren't bad teams, those are winnable games. So
Hmm.
we could see the Vikings getting some momentum early. Hopefully that'll carry over, and then when they're finishing out against the Eagles, the Bengals, and the Lions, hopefully that'll be another series where they can get some momentum going. Because in the middle, you've got the Packers, the Ravens, the
It goes,
Seahawks,
yeah,
Redskins.
yeah, Seahawks, well, Redskins is going to be tough with RG3. Seahawks are going to be tough because that's basically a rivalry game at this point.
Vikings West.
Yeah, Packers are Packers. They always bring their A game. Bears, division rival. Ravens, Super Bowl champions. Eagles could be a vastly improved team. You don't want to look past them.
True, the Bengals are up and comers.
Then you got the Bengals. I absolutely love Andy Dalton and AJ Green. So I mean that's going to be a tough game. Then you close out with the Lions. It's tough half or a tough end part of the schedule.
But like I said, you can get that momentum going early on, and
Hmm.
you'll be feeling good. Now the
Yeah.
Vikings did land 3 primetime games this year.
Yes, we did. Which ones are they? I don't know if I have it on my list
They
here.
landed primetime games against the Giants, the Packers, and the
The
Redskins.
Redskins, yeah. I'm surprised. I wonder if the Seahawks game could be flexed into a primetime game.
I don't think they'll flex a Week 11 game. I think it would have to be a later game for that. So
Yeah?
I wouldn't expect that, no. But hopefully I will be at that Washington Redskins game on Week 10. So I got my fingers crossed for that one.
Oh, nice. I hope you get a chance to go.
Yeah, I still haven't been to a live Vikings game. I've wanted to for a couple years now. Well, several years. And it had never been able to be something I could do.
Hmm.
And I think I'm finally in the position where I can get it done.
Sweet. I just wanted
So
to make a quick note here. We usually do, and we had a lot of fun last year where we went through and we predicted whether each game was going to be a win or a loss. And me and Adam are going to wait until after the draft and probably
closer
after
to training
maybe
camp.
yeah, probably after training camp and maybe after a couple of the preseason games, like when the roster starts to get locked down as to what that final 53 is going to look like.
Right.
Because right now, I mean, who knows what they're going to be doing at any number of positions, and it wouldn't have much weight to it to say,
No.
oh, well, this is what I think is going to happen in week 15 against the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, it's way too soon to get to that, but that show is coming, and I know we both look forward to doing that one.
Yeah, I know a lot of other websites are doing that, going down the list, win loss, win loss, win loss. But yeah, it's way too early for that. We will wait until we can make a more calculated decision on that and try to figure out, intelligently rather than just taking a wild stab in the dark because we don't
Yeah,
know who the personnel are. We don't know any factors like that. So
because
until then, you know,
I have faith in what this team is going to do in the draft this year. I think Spielman's going to hit another absolute home run just all throughout the draft class. But on the off chance that stupid shit does happen and we don't have any wide receivers worth a darn drafted, I mean, that stuff could, that's going to have a big effect on, predicting a win and a loss.
definitely. Well, that's all I have on the schedule. I suppose we should mention the Steelers game in London in week 4 and the bye week following.
Yeah, I'm
So
not
that's a
usually.
home game that the Vikings lose right there.
hmm I'm not usually a big fan of bye weeks coming that early in the season. My preference is to wait until later on, week 10,
Right.
week 11, week 12 to get your bye week. Uh, Considering that they're going to be going into London to play the Steelers, I think actually coming back and having a week off, then the team can gear up for the remainder of their schedule. That was a wise move on the team's behalf.
Right. The Vikings were given a decision whether to take the bye week before or after.
hmm
The Vikings could have had their bye week in week 3, but they decided to take it in week 5 instead, and I think that was a good decision.
I still don't understand the NFL's decision to stick the Vikings in a London game right now during this season when
Well,
an
it wasn't sticking. The Vikings agreed to the game.
well, yeah, I know, but doesn't it make more sense for them to have waited until we're playing that year or 2 years outside in TCF to send
Well,
us
believe it
overseas
or
to
not, the
London?
Vikings do have a pretty decent fan following over in England. I
Yeah,
know it
but
doesn't sound right, but
I guess my
so
point is here, though, is that the number of games the Vikings are going to have in the Metrodome is coming to an end. Like, our time is almost up here, and they're
right.
taking a game away from the season
Season
ticket
ticket.
holders that have been to the Metrodome for a number of years who want to continue to support the Vikings. They're kind of taking that game away from them, and it'd be nice for them to at least, if they could have at least waited until, we're not really playing our home games anywhere to send us overseas instead of doing it now.
Well, the Vikings could have said no, but
Yeah.
I understand why they did it, and I'm excited for that game. Actually, I really
I
am.
I really don't understand why the Vikings agreed to it. I think it was a dumb move on their part, and I mean of course it'll be fun to see them play in London, like that'll be cool, but I
Yeah,
it could have waited.
that and it's the Steelers, and I think that they're a team that is very beatable right now. So I'm excited to see that too. If they can go over there and kick some butt, hopefully they'll sell a lot of merchandise and get those jerseys moving, get a lot more fan appreciation for the Vikings over there, help build a stronger NFL and Vikings just community. That's what I love. And plus, to me, the idea of a hot British girl walking around wearing a Vikings jersey, that's just, yeah, that's too much for me. But let's go into the quick hits now because we've almost reached the end of our show. The Vikings' second round pick in this draft will be announced by former safety Joey Browner.
That's
That'll
cool.
be on Saturday, April 26th.
I always like when they bring out the former players and stuff to do that. It's really neat.
Yeah, it is nice in the second round for them to do that.
hmm
They're going to be doing some fan stuff in the first round. I think a lot of fans are going to be announcing the players, not in the first round, but later on.
Yeah,
So that's always cool to see too, is to have an excited fan up there talking about it. But first round, we're going to see Roger Goodell working his magic, hopefully doing some more handshakes and hugs.
And awkward photos where it looks like he is going to go in to kiss the players.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And where they each hold one side of a jersey and smile.
yeah.
Madden NFL 25, which for some reason is the sequel to Madden 13. The cover voting is down to 2 players, Hall of Fame running back Barry Sanders and NFL MVP Vikings running back Adrian Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
The winner will be announced April 24th at 7 p.m. A lot of people believe in that Madden curse, so love to see what happens.
Yeah, I personally think, or don't think that curse really has anything to do with anything. And I mean, just put Adrian on the cover. Like that would be awesome to see him on the cover of Madden. You know, you can take it up there and try to get him to have a signed copy of Madden by Adrian Peterson with him on the cover. Like, how
That'd be
cool would
pretty
that
sweet.
be?
We saw Kevin Williams restructure his contract
Mm-hmm.
this week. It saves $2.5 million against the cap, but it removes the 2014 season from the deal.
So yeah, like we said, he'll be a Seattle Seahawk next year. You can pre-order your Kevin Williams Seattle Seahawks jersey at facebook.com/purplepeoplepodcast.
No, you can't. Don't believe him.
But you should check us out.
I agree.
Yeah.
The Vikings signed exclusive rights player guard tackle Tony Kropog to a 1-year deal worth $630,000.
Poor Tony. We still don't know anything about him, do we?
No, but I sure get to say his name a lot.
Yeah, for a guy that we know nothing of, he sure does get brought up quite a bit.
Yeah. Congratulations to Mike Prefer for being named the Special Teams Coordinator of the Year.
Which is really cool. He is a coach that is going places in this league. You can just tell he's got a really good eye for talent, and he's really good at motivating his players and keeping his unit like on task. He is one of those guys that I could envision turning into a head coach later on down the line. I'm just going to throw that out there for everyone.
Yeah, the Vikings are lucky to have him working special teams right now. He's done a great job getting this squad together because a couple years ago, the Vikings special teams unit was a disaster.
Yeah.
And now we're finally seeing it all come together, and I enjoyed that a ton.
Mm-hmm.
And the final quick hit I have, as I mentioned earlier, the Vikings brought in former Lions cornerback Jacob Lacey and former Seahawks defensive end Lawrence Jackson for a visit on Thursday. Neither were signed, but they could provide some depth, and Lacey would be an excellent fill for leadership at the cornerback position. And that's all I have for this week.
Yeah, me too. I'm really looking forward to the draft coming up next week. So it'll be fun to finally be like, yes, this is what the Vikings have done with their first round picks. This is who is on the team.
I'm not going to post my mock draft up on the page for a couple days. So you guys that listen, you're going to get the exclusive, you're going to get the exclusive on that before anyone else. So thank you for listening. Here's your exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
Hope you like it. I made a nice wallpaper with the schedule on it. It's posted up on the Purple People Podcast page on Facebook. Check it out. Download it. Enjoy it. Set it as your background on your computer. I know I did.
It's pretty cool. You should definitely check it out. I like the work that Adam came up with on that one.
Overall, I'd just like to thank everyone for listening and remind you to visit our Facebook, our Twitter page, and all that nice, fun junk. And to stay classy, Minnesota.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.